This is Weapons System Officer Shafer of Project Sunshine. As you know, the year is 2085 and the sun has started to go out. 6 spaceships have been constructed in order to try to fly to the sun and re-detonate it using a nuclear weapon. It's a difficult mission. Before we began, we met via telegram, communicated with the 5 other people on our ship. Each ship has a captain who has overall charge and gives people their orders. There is a medic who looks after the resources needed to keep us alive, an engineer who looks after the stability of the actual ship itself, a weapons system officer, me, charged with firing the solar bomb to restart the sun, and also has a single torpedo they can use to fire at other ships or anything else that might damage their ship, and a communications officer whose job it is to oversee all talking between the ships. We initially met and chatted via telegram, established our sort of connections between us. Then we had a workshop the day before the launch actually began via Discord, so practicing that the voice channels worked, that the video worked. And then the ship itself, it was all taken part on Discord. We spoke in 3 different channels, a bridge, an engines and a medbay. But most of the communication was done in the bridge, chatting between the 5 people on the ship. Any messages that you send to other ships can be seen by everyone in your ship, and any message that comes to you can be seen by your communications officer and by you. So secret communication is difficult between the ships, which is hard because there are secrets going on. There are double agents, there are cults, there are people trying to suss out who's in a cult and track them down. There are spies, there's all sorts of secret motives, things that people are trying to do. Some people don't want the bomb to work, some people want their nation to particularly achieve it and want to downplay other nations. There's all sorts of things that you might be trying to achieve. Each round, so it starts a week after launch, you're just about to leave the Earth's orbit. You have a chance to get to know each other, compare your backgrounds, discuss who you might know in other ships. Then you go to sleep for 3 years. You awaken and you're on the way to the sun, but something bad might have happened to your ship. If it has, you then need to speak to the other ships, discuss what could be done to give you repairs. Maybe you'll have to do trades. They might have damage to their stability, whilst you might have damage to your resources. Maybe you could swap in order to make yourself both have the best chance. Then sleep again. Waking up again and getting another status report. At this point, things were starting to get more desperate. There started to be clearly people who were better equipped, people who were worse equipped. Someone launched a torpedo at another ship. There were discussions flying around as to why that might have happened. Then sleep again and waking up for a final time. Final load of discussions. Decisions had to be made, difficult decisions. Were you going to fire the missile or not? Were the solar bomb or not? Were you going to step out of the airlock? Were you going to try to throw someone out of the airlock? But it has to be a personal choice. All sorts of interesting and intense discussions. I ended up, I fired my torpedo at another ship, which they were very cross about. And I did fire my solar bomb. And then I stepped out of the airlock, and so I did not return to Earth. Each time that you wake up, you're also hearing the unfolding situation on Earth, where there's World War III's raging, there's all sorts of backstabbing and discussions as to who should take over. There are uprisings that are trying to take place. So it's quite exciting finding out what's going on. Will you return to the world that you want to return to? If you don't manage to reignite the sun, then that will help the cultists of the Black Sun who tried to do an uprising. If you manage to reignite the sun, maybe that will collapse their morale, all these sort of things. Yeah, it was an interesting game. It was a game about connections. It was all pre-generated characters, so there were people that you knew before, not really any inside your crew, but you had links to the other ships. So I was an old drinking buddy with someone on one of the other ships, so we exchanged messages backwards and forwards. When we took quite heavy damage, I was talking to them saying, remember how we met both in hospital side by side, helping each other get through the pain? Could your ship help us heal this time? Those sort of things. There's also rivalries that you might have going back, and obviously if you're in a secret cult or if you're working for another government, then there'll be people that you know through that. So yeah, there's lots of connections between the other ships, but messages have to be quite coded. You have to sort of be circumspect in what you're saying. And ultimately you're on a ship, you and four others, alone in the darkness of space. And is someone an imposter? Is someone sus? Does someone need to go out of an airlock? All sorts of interesting, exciting, and intense discussions. It was good. I really enjoyed it. Definitely the roles had different amounts to do during the game. The captain was sort of overseeing everything and trying to keep all the plates spinning. Communications got a huge number of messages to them because all of the messages to them and to anyone else on the ship went through them. The medic, as I say, is looking at the resources all the time. He's got an eye on those, whilst the engineer's got an eye on stability. Weapons, I sort of had less to do than the others until right at the very end. Obviously, I had the torpedo that I could fire at any time, and the solar bomb right at the very finish. But yeah, perhaps less than some of the other roles. But it's all sort of what game is it that you're looking for? What are you interested in? Resource management, knowledge, secrets sort of game and communications, the balancing everyone and captain, or the very single-minded focus of the weapons, but with the potential to have the largest effects on the end result of the game of anyone. Yeah, really good fun game. Really enjoyed it. If you have a chance to play it, I wholeheartedly recommend you do. And I look forward to seeing whether the sun does rise again tomorrow.